Okay, we are live. Okay. I think there should be at least one person, maybe two joining, so make sure they get in. Okay. So she's here. So look, you're the number one fan. Oh, Alexandros, you're the number two fan. uh, this chat function is hilarious on YouTube, especially for this purpose. Okay. So for this session, I think we'll just do one long session of body scanning, since we're going to have a fair break for lunch. So before we go, are there any questions that are still lingering? For those who won't have access to the private chat that's going on between sessions, one person mentioned that they feel very calm and that their whole body feels kind of tingly and feels good. One of the effects of doing body scanning is that you're putting a lot of mental energy and mental focus that is, let's call it clean, energetically clean. You're not sitting there looking at your shoulder going, my damn shoulder acting up again, you know. And you've probably noticed if you get angry, you tend to go and tighten things up, right? And when you really want to get something, you kind of crunch this way, where you're like, oh, I'm like Golem, you know. So desire on the one hand, raga, right, attachment on the one hand, has this strong effect of exaggerating the positive qualities of something, and we chase after it. Aversion, on the other hand, pratyeka, has this effect of exaggerating the negative qualities of things, and we try to run away from those things. Of course, in reality, there are things that will harm you. There are things that you just don't like for personal reasons, etc. But there's a negative mental factor in Buddhism. One of the big two, or one of the big three, excuse me, that are called the three poisonous minds, the three poisons. One is exaggerating the positive qualities of things. The other is exaggerating the negative qualities of things. And the final one is it doesn't have an emotional component. I'll talk about that in a second. It's, how to say, it's just that your cognitive faculties, and we know this from Western cognitive psychology now too, you don't see things the way they are. You see things as filtered through a whole bunch of information, which is normal and okay, except that one of the ways we construct experience out of the data of our senses and so forth is we add qualities that things don't have. So when you see a beautiful chocolate cake that's your favorite kind of chocolate cake, it almost sparkles and glows. And this is because your mind is exaggerating the good qualities of the cake. You know, it is a delicious cake, but it can't actually make you happy. And on the other hand, when you think about an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend or something, even the songs they used to listen to seem somehow tainted by the negative interactions you had with them. If somebody's wearing a cologne that's the cologne they used to wear or the perfume they used to wear, you're repelled. How is it that a smell, which isn't their smell, by the way, it's an artificial smell from something else that they wore from time to time, is now somehow tainted in and of itself in your perception? Well, it's because you have exaggerated the negative qualities of some perceptual object. In this case, an ex-girlfriend, an ex-boyfriend. You see? So we have this habit of adding qualities to things that don't exist at all, and it really screws up our whole life. The fundamental thing that we do is we see things that are completely interdependently existent and that depend upon causes and conditions to exist as if they existed independently, inherently with their own qualities. We see things that depend in part on our perception to exist in the form that we see them, as if they didn't depend on our perception at all in order to exist in the way that we see them. So we call that things seem to be inherently existent. Right? So we'll probably address that again when we get to rumination, depending upon how things are going for everyone. And since it's the weekend, everyone, I'm sure, will be much more engaged. No more responsibilities from the week. So when you're doing body scanning for the first time, maybe ever, you're going through the body without very much attachment and aversion. So it's this very sort of mentally and emotionally clean attention that you're giving the body for the first time. And your body, your whole nervous system just gets this wash, this sort of clean of having an energetically clean awareness going through it for the first time ever, maybe. So this is one of the benefits of doing body scanning meditation. The other aspect is, because we're working with the body and the nervous system, and from a Tibetan Buddhist perspective and Taoist perspective and so on, Chinese medical perspective, we're also working with the subtle energy body by doing this by placing really intense, clean awareness on parts of our body. The type of calmness that we're generating is actually being established at the level of the body and at the level of the energy system and at the level of the nervous system. So therefore, it's going to have a much longer effect. It'll have a longer half-life than if you were to just work with your mind really intensively. So when we're doing Foundation 1, you're basically just working with your mind, right? You put your attention here on the nostril and you're like, focus, mind. You bring it as intensely as you can with strong intent, and you're just working with the mind only. When you do body scanning, you're putting the mind into different parts of the body and going, okay, calm down, relax, calm down, right? And then by the time you get to the end, the whole nervous system, the whole body is now supporting a mind that is calm. And then as you carry on with your day, that calm body, calm nervous system might last for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours. I'm sure that everyone who's been involved in the course up to this point today is already feeling quite different. I know that I am, because of having done a few, relatively short sessions of scanning the body. So that's part of why this technique is so incredible and so beneficial. Is it's not just forcing the mind to do something with pure willpower. You're asking each part of the body to become calm, and you're cleaning out the nervous system and the energy body as best you can. And that has a much longer effect on your mental state than just working with the mind. Right. So this is why I like this technique. For those of you who have been following along from the beginning, in terms of the 9 stages of meditation, this is why I like this technique a lot for trying to get somebody from the 2nd to the 3rd stage, the 3rd to the 4th stage, where you're generating concentration. Because the type of concentration you're generating depends not just on you forcing your mind to do it, but on the whole system becoming more calm, which is a much more stable base to try to generate a deep state of concentration than just forcing your mind to intensely remain in some state by willpower. You know. Okay, I think I've said enough there. Since we have a very long break, I am once again going to bleed over into 25 minutes. I'm going to steal 5 minutes of your life. So we're gonna do 25 minutes. We'll do probably that's enough time to do a full body scan up and a full body scan down with a great amount of detail. So since this is now 25 minutes, you may find that you need to adjust a little bit. If you do need to adjust, just do it very slowly. So if your shoulders all messed up halfway through, just put your mind there. Ignore me going through the body for a minute and get the shoulder back to somewhere, or do a couple of circles, get the body back to somewhere comfortable, and then resume and join me wherever we are in the scan, okay? Okay. So first, find your position. Do a couple of circles just to loosen off the hips and the spine. You can rock back and forth a bit too. I find that helps me find the lower back in particular, and the angle of the hips to make sure that that's correct. Find the position for the neck. If you need to, as I do with my jacked up shoulders, use that little hack that I gave you to loosen off the shoulders and get them in the right position. And we'll start with the intensive breath meditation. So start by placing your attention in whichever nostril the sensations are strongest. So breathe in. Place your mind in a tiny patch of skin inside the nostril where the sensations are strongest. And let's just do a few breaths there before we begin the scan. All right. Start with your left foot, the big toe. Second toe. Third toe. Fourth toe. Pinky toe. Pad of the foot. Top of the foot. The arch, bottom of the foot. The heel. Ankle. Mentally divide your calf into about 10 parts, 8 or 10 parts, up to you. And then make your way through the first part of the lower calf. Second part. Third part. Fourth part. Fifth part. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Place your mind inside the knee joint. Mentally divide your left thigh into about 10 parts. First part, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10. As best you can, place the mind inside the left hip joint. Now move to the right foot, so right big toe. Second toe. Third toe. Fourth. Pinky. The pad of the foot on the bottom. Top of the foot. The arch and bottom of the foot. The heel. Ankle. Divide the calf between the ankle and the knee into about 10 pieces. Starting from just above the ankle joint, the first piece. Second. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. 7, 8, 9, 10. Place the mind inside the knee joint as best you can. Divide the right thigh into 10 pieces. First piece. Second. Third. Fourth. Fifth. Sixth. 7, 8, 9, and 10. As best you can, place the mind inside the right hip joint. Now move your awareness to the front of the right hip, to the back of the right hip, including the right buttock, the front of the left hip, the back of the left hip, including the left buttock, the tailbone, if you can, try to become aware of the portion of your spine that is between the two hip bones. So from the top of the hips to the tailbone, that portion of the spine. And then from there, mentally follow that down to the anus. Mentally move forward to the perineum area. Since we're in the perineum area, just make sure that that is where your weight is resting, is about the perineum area. And just very quickly run through to the top of your head, up your spine, to the back third of the skull to make sure that you're seated on that line. Okay, now run back down that line and go to the sexual organs. And take your time, go through the sexual organs in detail. Now move to the waist belt. So the front of the waist. Since we have a little more time, try to feel where the top of your hip bones meets your belly in the front. Try to feel where the ribs in the front end and the belly just becomes flesh and muscle. Now become aware of the left side of the waist, where the ribs come down and there's a gap between the ribs in the back and the hips. Become aware of the spine from the top of the hips to where the rib cage meets the spine in the back. Now become aware of the right side of the waist, including the section in the back where the ribs, there's a little gap between the ribs and the hip bone. And before I continue, if the level of detail that I'm providing is not stuff you can feel, then just place your mind in that general area. If you can feel these details, then continue following along at that level of detail. Okay, now move up to the diaphragm belt. So just above your navel to the diaphragm area, to the solar plexus area. So just feel that triangle of flesh in the front and the ribs in the front. Now move your attention to the left side of the diaphragm belt, where you should feel the ribs mostly underneath the skin there. Move your attention to the middle portion of the spine. Move your attention to the right-hand side of the diaphragm belt. Okay, now the area from the solar plexus to just below the collarbones. That whole front part of your chest. The left side of your chest. And when I say left side, I mean the part that's on the left side of your body. including the part that's on your back. Now focus on the upper portion of your spine between the very large bone that connects your neck to your spine, from there to about the middle of your back. Now move your awareness to the right side of the upper chest. Now we're moving to the left shoulder, top of the left shoulder. Front, the outside, the back, and underneath in the armpit area. The bicep, get your mind inside the elbow as best you can. Left forearm, left wrist, the palm, back of the hand, thumb, pointer finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky, slide over to the top of the right shoulder, the front of the right shoulder, outside of the right shoulder, the back of the right shoulder, and the armpit area of the right shoulder. The bicep. Get your mind inside the elbow as best you can. Forearm, wrist, palm, back of the hand, thumb, pointer, middle, ring, pinky, now slide up to the neck, the first third of the neck at the bottom of the neck. Second third of the neck. And the upper third of the neck, just below the joint where it meets the skull. Place your mind into the joint where your spine or your neck vertebra meet the joint in your skull. The back of your scalp. The left side of your scalp. The outside of your left ear. The inside of your left ear. Your forehead. Your right scalp, right side of your scalp. Your right ear on the outside. Your right ear on the inside. Your right eyebrow. Your left eyebrow. The left side of your nose. Inside your left nostril. The right side of your nose. Inside your right nostril. Your left cheek on the outside. Your right cheek on the outside. Your chin. Your upper lip. Your lower lip. Inside your left cheek. Inside your right cheek. Do a quick scan of your teeth. tongue and throat, above your tongue, below your tongue. Your left eye, your right eye. And then finally, we will end with the top of your head. So rather than just doing a general scan, place your attention on the top of your head and move your attention around a little bit until you find an area that seems really sort of alive and awake. And then just place your attention there on whichever area of the top of your skull has the most sensation. Just place your attention there for a short period of time. Okay. I went over time a little bit, my apologies. And we only went one way. What a shame. I'll let you head off to lunch. If you have questions, send them to the private chat through the Facebook group. And there's a fairly long break between here and our next session in the afternoon. I think it's about 3.5 hours. For those of you who are joining just by YouTube, I'm going to put up another link to a live session, I believe, starting at 3, if I'm not mistaken. And in the notes for that next live, I'm going to put some of the material that we're going to be covering in that live. So if you want something to read or study between here and the next session, that would be the material to look at. Okay? All right. See you in a few hours.